Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Chris from the Ultimate Recycler, and I have with me a pair. Do you call them a pair? They're cordless garden pruners. I guess you have a pair of pruners or a pruner. Anyway, they were dropped into the shop recently from a customer that said, I heard you fix things. He bought them a while back. They weren't overly expensive. They're under $100 and he's been using them. And for some reason they don't work. I noticed the charge light's on when I turn them on. But for some reason the mechanism, didn't do that before. It makes a noise, but the jaws don't move. So clearly they're not going to prune anything like that. They look like they're fully charged. Let's pull them apart and see if we can work out what's going on with them. See if we can save them for this guy. And, I might charge him a token amount to repair things. I like repairing things. But more importantly, I like saving them from being thrown out prematurely. So he said, have a go at fixing them. If they're no good, throw them in your e-waste bin. But let's see if we can sort it out. Okay, well, they don't appear to be physically damaged other than a little bit of rusting, or it's probably just more sap from the plant, so I should be careful putting my finger near there. But we'll just operate it again. I gather that's a safety, so that doesn't work unless you've pressed the safety first. So obviously 2 fingers on that, or maybe those 2. 1 on this. And it tries to operate. The motor works. So clearly it's a mechanical issue rather than an electronic issue. So we'll try and remove the battery. I guess it comes out here somehow. There we go. I think it's only a very low voltage too. I think I read they're only 4 volts or something. Anyway, the battery's out. It shouldn't operate. Shouldn't be any danger of snipping my fingers off. Let's pull the casing apart. And I'm guessing there's going to be maybe some sort of drive cog stripped or broken, or I'm not sure. He didn't say anything actually went sort of bang or made a noise. It just, he went to use them one day and they didn't work. So first thing, we'll pull the case off and we'll carefully have a look at the mechanism. Okay, Phillips head screws. Okay, that's the last screw. How easy does it come apart? I want to kind of ease it apart slowly rather than have parts fly everywhere. I must have some clips as well. There we go, we've opened up the case a bit. Oh, that's what I was trying to avoid. It's a little spring on the trigger. Actually, I think, yeah, the side without the screws is the side that comes off. Okay, I think we've got to release some of that white casing. Yes, there's another screw underneath the white casing. That's a bit tricky. Let's take that right out. Okay, one more screw in here. Lucky I didn't force that any harder. We would have broken the case. Oh, okay, it slides in. So that's a bit tricky. Unless you know, you're very likely to break the case. Anyway, we've got into it. Now, we know our motor's okay, but we've got something going on with the gearing, possibly something in the gear box itself, because these bevel gears don't look like they're damaged, or the bevel gear and the gear that it runs on. Or it's a bevel gear and a rack, I guess you'd call it. So that seems to be fine. So it's probably something in the gearbox. It's probably something we can't fix, or, we may not be able to get parts for it. There's a little micro switch there to operate things. So that's working okay, because we could get activity. Let's take that out and make sure we don't lose the spring. All right, probably we can have a go whilst it's apart. So we'll put the battery in. And our safety switch just joins 2 contacts there. So with that pressed, we should be able to operate the little switch here. We have to turn it on. I think this would be the on-off switch. There we go. Now if we operate that little micro switch. Yeah, okay. So our bevel gear is not turning as a problem in here. And it's likely to be a broken gear or something stripped. I guess we can pull it apart and have a look, but I don't hold out much hope for fixing it. Okay, if we relocate this on-off switch out of the road, we have one screw holding the gear case down. I think there's only one screw holding that down. It locates on some pins on this side. I think we actually have to undo the blade because the pins go right through to bracket the other side. So let's take this pivot bolt out. And that has a screw into the casing as well. Now we're right. Okay. Right, these parts are all okay. There's no damage to any of those. Our problem's going to be in here. I'd like to get this pin out. Okay, that's got out. That was tough. So we can move that blade assembly now. And now we can look at getting into this gear case. Just two screws at the end, but looks like the bevel gear is probably going to have to slide off. Oh, the whole shaft's coming out. I don't think that's supposed to happen. Oh, maybe it does. Not sure how that casing comes off. Let's get the two screws out and see. Okay, they just held the bearing in. Right. So that works on a double D, a flat side on each side of the shaft, so there's no damage there that I can see. So how do we get into this casing? Looks like it's sealed. There's a locating tag there and one on that side. Maybe there's a spring-loaded clip. They do push in a little bit. Okay, this is on pretty tight. I was trying to lever against the motor, but I just realised that there's a separation join on this gear casing, and we've got to get something in between there, and it does flex it apart. And then whilst we're doing that, if we push down on this tab, I think it should release it, but it's fairly firm. Let's get the bigger screwdriver in there. That's it. And try and release these tabs, which don't really flex. They're just like clips, I guess. Clips that don't want to let go. We're close. I think I need a bigger screwdriver. And I'm not sure how your vision's going there. My hand might be in the road. I think we're getting somewhere. Of course, this is just one side. Yep, that's going to be free. So let's see if we can work this other side around. Might need a little bit of persuasion. I think we're just about right. Yep, here we go. All right, now I'm fairly convinced that this was never meant to be serviced or repaired, but that's never stopped me before. Rightio, it's coming apart. Whoop. Okay, what do we got here? We've got a gear coming out of the motor. It seems very loose. Oh no, that just works on a flat on the motor. Doesn't run through a bearing or anything, but that's okay. Then we have a large washer. And we have a little planetary gear system. Now these are plastic gears. That one had come off its seat. I don't know if I did that. Probably did. Alright, so none of those gears look damaged. But let's tip them out. Oh, where was that one from? Oh, that's a little gear out of the other end. I think that's broken. I think that's come out of that end. Alright, let's slide the whole casing out So there's the double D that drives the main bevel gear at the end. Ah, that little gear. That's snapped off. That's broken off something. Ah. Oh, whoops, it's all falling apart on me now. I reckon... Oh no, it hasn't broken off there. But that certainly looks like it's broken to me. Let's see if we can find where it's broken off. So there's a planetary gear system this end. And they're metal gears. And that little one is supposed to go in between them. But it's broken off there. Alright, so... Oh, we've got gears everywhere in here. But it snapped that gear clean off there. And we're not going to be able to buy parts for this, and it's not worth it. So this will be scrapped, unfortunately. But how weak is that? The entire pivoting mechanism for these blades worked on a little gear here. I hope we're staying in focus. So that little gear has snapped off. So all the pressure from pruning the branches comes through that little gear. Very poor design. Clearly not meant to last. What's that I hear you say? Planned obsolescence? Maybe. Right, so what are we going to do here? Well, it's not fixable. Well, it is fixable if I had another part, but I'm not going to try and order one. If I had another one of these with another problem, I could change the gearbox over, but it's not worth ordering parts to try and fix it. We don't have any real scrap value other than a little bit of steel and an electric motor and the tiniest amount of wiring. So that's disappointing, but since it's a part, we might as well put the bits in the scrap. And we do have some various springs and things that I'll put in my jars for hardware. So we will reclaim a little bit of it. The blades can go in the heavy melt steel. They're decent pieces of steel. And that rack gear. So there you go. We've seen inside one. We've seen how weakly they've made them. But we can't fix this one. At least I'm calling it quits right here. Okay guys, it's the next morning. I need to clean my bench off to start the next project. I'm not going to scrap this out. Well, it's already broken up, but I'm not going to distribute the parts to the various scrap metal bins and hardware jars and then plastic into the rubbish bin. I'm going to package it up and just keep it aside and label the little box what it is and what happened to it. The hardware stores are still selling these. They're a current model. I'm likely to turn up more in house deals and shed lots. There's a chance I might use parts out of it. Admittedly, the part that broke in this one is probably the weakest link, and there quite possibly could be others out there with this same part broken, which isn't going to help me. But if I find one that's had a branch drop on it and it's broken the casing, well, I can fix it. So for the small amount of space it's going to take up, I'm going to save it here for secondhand parts, properly labelled and catalogued. And if the time comes to clean up in a hurry here, like I've had to do in other places, or if my kids have to clean up my shed later and there's a whole stack of secondhand parts, at least it'll be easy to scrap them. They're already pulled apart, and there'll be some value saved from scrap. So at least at this stage, nothing's going to the tip. It's going to be stored for possible secondhand parts use. I may change my mind down the track when I run out of room, but for the moment, I'm going to hang on to it, and maybe I can make some dollars repairing another one down the track really easily because I have my own parts. I'm not going to start keeping everything, but I think fairly current model stuff that are likely to play up, it's worth saving a few bits for just in the short term. Okay, we'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.